All right, and we are recording. So we always think about why we're doing office hours, and that's to be able to share tools and resources across the region. But just be thinking about your why. Why are you here? Why are you interested in learning about Flipgrid? What do you think you're going to take away from today? And then whenever we think about assistive technology, we think through the SET framework, and that's the student, the environments, the tasks, and the tools. And AT, we often think about the tools, but just know that you can make adjustments to the environments or the tasks also. And then we always look through a lens of equity, just making sure that it is that every student gets exactly what it is that they need. Our agenda will mostly be sharing by our guest, Joe, and then we'll make sure that we have some couple minutes for question and answers at the end. I have a couple additional resources in the slides there, and we'll just do a quick wrap up. But without further ado, I'm going to turn over the controls here to Joe Schingen, who is the Digital Learning Coordinator here at the Duluth Public Schools, to talk about Flipgrid. Thanks, Joe. I'll stop presenting now.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure, and these are my people, the ones who are focusing in and helping those who might need a little extra help to get where they need to go. I love that, and I love the SET framework too. I know that we're going to be talking about Flipgrid as a tool, but it is a trap that we fall into in education, that we get excited about a tool and then think about instead of what our students need and what we need to do for them, we sometimes get excited about a tool and say, how can we force this tool in? And I just wanted to follow up on that notion that Julie shared, and that is to make sure that we let this tool be a thing that we just know and that is in our toolbox, and not to force it. So anyways, yeah. So Flipgrid is unique in that it allows students to be seen and heard, especially in the environment where we're teaching and learning remotely or in distance learning. You'll find that students oftentimes have to communicate by typing, and there's a lot of extra typing and writing involved. And I think we've taken for granted the fact that when we're all together, we can just talk and discuss, and that is harder to do online. And so having tools that allow our students, but also ourselves, to be seen and heard, to share our thoughts with tone and body language are nice features, and Flipgrid allows for that to happen. So what I would like us to do is experience it, and I want you to experience it as a participant, or in our case, a student, and then we can talk about it. So I'm going to put the link to this Flipgrid in the chat. And if you click on that, you can actually participate. And so what I would suggest is that you click on that. It's going to open a new tab, that you mute yourself if you're not already. It looks like you are. And to actually record a response to what I have just offered you. And Julie, if you notice that other people come in, let me know if I miss it, because they won't have that Flipgrid link. And so I'll put it in there again.
Sounds good. I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah. And so I'm going to kind of actually go into that Flipgrid and watch them populate, and I'm going to share my screen and stop talking.
So Joe doesn't have any responses yet, but if you're having any difficulty with that, feel free to jump in and ask questions in the chat window, or pop your mic back on and ask if you're having questions if you're trying to record your video there.
Joe, did you get, yeah, okay. So Joe, I recorded mine, but I don't see then how you submit it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Is that you, Tammy?
Yes, it is.
Hi.
You know my voice.
I do. I think after you record, there's a next button at the bottom right, and that's the one, because when you click on next, it will invite you to edit or do other things to it, just to make sure that you're happy with what you've created before you post it.
Got it.
We'll take one more minute to give you the opportunity to record. It is not required that you do so. I probably should have led with that. Okay, thank you so much. So pretty straightforward in that you can kind of see without too much instruction what to do. The text area, if you're looking on the screen that I'm sharing, the text area, it has a video, and that video can be instruction. I elected for this one to share my own answer as an example for modeling, but I could have the text instructions and then the video doing the same thing. And you might notice, or might have noticed, that there are features in Flipgrid that are built in for accessibility, which I think is really nice. For example, here is one that just exists with any text, and it's the text-to-speech, the immersive reader. So let's see what this looks like if I click on it. All right, so it expands the text and it will read it. So I'm going to do that now.
What might you do outside on a nice day like today, if given the opportunity? Or, how might you use this tool in your practice?
Next to it, I have the voice settings tool, male to female, and I can speed it up or slow it down. Now, this is in the bottom third for speed, and I feel like that's pretty fast already. So going to the full slowness might be a thing that some people default to. And then you will also notice that a video that I recorded or that anyone else has recorded and you watch has built-in closed captioning as well. Hi, I'm Joe Schingen. I would certainly go outside for a walk, and usually I, listen to a podcast or so. Those features are nice, right? We tend to get hung up on creating or using tools if it means that we have to do extra supports and or devices that our learners are using are not necessarily able to help with parts of the tool. Flipgrid is certainly made for schools and has those features built in already, which is kind of a nice thing. And so from a teacher perspective, and by the way, just jump in with thoughts or questions. I'm looking at my Flipgrid right now and not noticing the chat or anything. So if you're raising hands, I'm not going to see you. You'll see that I can, in a single view, see all of my responses. And as these responses increase, if I have a group of 20, it'll actually start to grid a little bit more than list. And so that's the view change will work out so that I can see them all. And if I hover over the comments, so it'll say that there are like 6 comments. If I hover over the comments, I will get a list of the people who gave comments, which is really nice if you are awarding points for giving comments and interacting with one another. Now, you'll also notice that the comment feature allows people to view a video of their fellow student, and then they can give a video comment back or a text comment back, and that is up to you. These are things that you have in the settings when you are creating a topic. So let's open it up to the group really quickly, and just right away, what are some ways that you or other teachers might be able to use this tool in class?
And anyone can feel free to unmute yourselves or type in the chat window. I'm just thinking, Joe, anytime if a student, I think this is just a great tool so that, like you were talking about, so students don't have to write a response. Like, what a great option to be able to record it. It's just built right into there. That's super cool. They're always using video on a million other social media platforms. Why not for school also?
Yeah, thank you.
And just off the top of my head, I was thinking, in person, we always do a number talk. And I always think, we turn and share with our partner. But this way I could really get a great conversation going, because there's always more than one way to solve a math problem. And so then I can have them feed off of each other. I like the idea of videos. I have a question. Do we get to see their responses before the student sees them? Or is it a live?
That's a great question, Julie. That's an option that you have as a person who creates the Flipgrid topic. One of the things that you can toggle is whether or not you want to monitor that manually or let it go live right away.
That's perfect, because you hate to control so much conversation. And yet, if I needed to, I could. So nice to know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I used Flipgrid as a part of a course that I took myself this summer, and I really enjoyed it. And we were the professor was using it as a tool. We were reading a book, and at the end of a chapter, we'd have a few discussion questions. So we would post our responses, and then we could respond to other people's thoughts and ideas. So it was pretty cool. At first it was a little bit, I don't want to say strange, but since I don't post or do a lot online, it was kind of uncomfortable. But
Yeah, it's a risk.
the time at the end of the class, everybody was really enjoying it and felt really comfortable using it. And it was so much faster for me than sitting and writing a response, that I could just kind of talk and share my response. So I really enjoyed the opportunity to use it this summer. It was a really good tool, and it worked like flawlessly every time. So
Thank you for sharing that, Amanda. So just to reiterate some of the things that you just said. One, you might want to really think about safety early on. So one thing that Flipgrid has is you can dictate how much time they actually have to make a video response, from 30 seconds to 10 minutes. And so at the front end of using a tool like Flipgrid, maybe it's more of an SEL, how are you, check-in that's safe. And maybe it's like a 30-second share. And then working up to, and again, one thing that Amanda said was, like, it doesn't always have to come from the teacher, right? So students can be posing questions, and then answering each other's questions is a really immersive way to go. And over time, as students get more comfortable sort of being recorded or recording themselves thinking, it's faster. It's certainly, in an online environment, a little bit more engaging, and it allows other people to see and hear you, not just you and the teacher. So it's more dynamic. And it's also faster for the teacher. I mean, as an English teacher, I appreciate that I can assess how my students are learning and what they're learning and how they're thinking versus reading 100 essays. I mean, it's just a lot faster, and sometimes nice to hear them be processing out loud. And so thanks for that. And I want to go back to what Julie said about how that you can almost have like this banter a little bit if you're on there at the same time. One thing I would add to that is that for introverts or for people who need more time to process or articulate or record or whatever, you end up getting a higher quality and more mindful, oftentimes, response from students when you're not in a live discussion and they have a chance to think about, articulate, control how they present themselves in video form. And so I think students like that. I think they like that they can do that. Oftentimes our introverted students, because they want to articulate in their head, and it takes a little bit more time just to make sure that they've got it the way they want it, the conversation has moved on, and all of a sudden we're not hearing from everyone. So this allows our students all to have a voice and be heard, which makes a huge difference.
Joe, that ties right into what Mara had typed in the chat window. She said it could be used for morning meeting questions with students, especially when virtual, and those that can't type easily or are shy. So great suggestions there.
Love it. Absolutely. Ways to check in. I would suggest and urge more of that SEL, more of that morning meeting approach early on than digging into content and hey, prove that you can do this math problem in front of everybody in a video. Gets maybe a little bit unsafe, right? So to be thinking about that, especially for us extroverts who don't, sometimes it doesn't occur to us that that is terrifying for others. Other thoughts or ways that you think a tool like Flipgrid can be used in the classroom or school community, for that matter?
I guess I have a question more than a way to use it, Joe. You kind of started to answer it. Really wasn't clear whether you were using it live or whether you post these questions ahead of time, like, and have it set up. But so, like, how long, if you're not doing it live, what would you typically do? Like, if you're putting your Canvas assignments up, and you maybe have something they're doing on Tuesday and it's due by Wednesday that they do it. Like, I guess I just want to get a feel for how you would use it.
Sure. So here I am in my topic. This is my topic. And if I click share, I can embed it right into Canvas if I so choose, or I can give them the link in a module. Typically I would embed it. Would you like to see that?
I would.
Yes.
All right, so I'm just gonna copy the embed code, and let me just back up again. So here I am with my topic. I'm gonna click the share button, and I'm gonna click the embed code, which is these merge signals or symbols. Okay, so that's copied. All right, so let me get into Canvas and I'll jump my tab over. Give me 1 second. All right, so here I am in Canvas, and if I were to jump into a course and create a new page, sorry, a lot of little clicks here to show. From here, I can get into the embed range or the HTML range down here, or with this cloud. I don't know if you knew that, but this cloud from the vertical ellipses also will open up an embed code space, and I can put the embed code in. And then I always change my width to 100%. We're learning new things here. Width 100 and then the percent sign within those quotation marks. And now my Flipgrid is in on a page in Canvas. Oh, title. I'll just type it Julie Ray. I always like typing her name. Sorry, I'm just trying to embarrass you, Julie. All right, so here it is. Now it is in a page, and students can add a response or record a response. And to go back to your original question, Tammy, I would actually plan on using a Flipgrid in an asynchronous model, meaning if you're going to have a discussion, just get on a Google Meet and get into breakout rooms or whatever and do your thing. It is possible to do Flipgrid in real time, but I would say to use Flipgrid as a tool for students to share their thoughts, but also have a chance to think about and process a little bit and have a little control over recording. We did it in real time just now because I wanted you to experience it as a student and for us to talk about it. It was kind of cumbersome, right? There was some like dead air for a while. And so not necessarily ideal to be doing in real time unless you guys you and your students start to get really good at it. Then maybe for Julie, you could try it. But overall, I would say to put it out there, if you have like a content for the week, one of them, instead of having them writing, maybe try a Flipgrid and let students give it a try. Some of your students have already experienced it, most likely.
Joe, would it be that easy to also put it into Seesaw then? Only I would probably, copy the code and put it in my link?
In Seesaw, if you were to embed a tool in your instructions, yeah, you would put a link in. Actually, I don't think that you would embed it. I think you would put a link, and then they would just open a new tab for them, and they could do their thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Seesaw needs to get into the iframe world, kind of like Canvas, but again, their focus is on having students creating, right? Cool stuff in Seesaw. Yeah, so we only have another minute or two here. Any other thoughts or questions regarding Flipgrid? Let me share one more quick thing. So when you go to Flipgrid and log in, you can log in with your Google account, your ISD 709 account, or if there are people here not in the district, whatever, you can log in with Google and create that account. And you'll end up on a page like this. You might not have any grids going, but you basically add a topic, and that allows you to record your video and ask your questions. And so this Lunch with Julie Ray was a topic. Okay, and then you can kind of set up your parameters as you need.
That's awesome, Joe. It is 12:30, and I know you have another thing that you need to get to, but I can't say thanks enough for showing up and showing this to us. It's a tool that a number of people have been asking to hear about, so I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
It was my pleasure. Anytime.
Thank
Maybe
you.
we'll see you guys again.
I hope so, Joe. Expect another invitation.
Awesome. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
folks.
Thank
Take care.
you.